Hey, what's up? It's your boy Control, and today I'm here to bring you guys a video on a topic that I am very passionate about. Counter queuing. Something that is extremely prevalent in Wild, basically guaranteed to do above rank 10. Obviously, as the season gets longer on and there's more rank 10s, it gets a little bit tougher there. But rank 5 to Legend, it's really, really easy to do. If you don't know what counter queuing is, let me give you a little bit of a scenario that happened 2 days ago on stream, and then I'll talk about that one a little bit more as I'm explaining points. But the scenario is game 1. Started up the stream, and I decided that I want to play Malago Shaman. So I queued up a game with Malago Shaman. Played against a mid-range Paladin. Decent matchup, not too bad. It's fine, not complaining about anything. Played the game, I end up losing in 20 minutes. I queue up about 10 seconds later, right after the game starts, like, you know what, lost the game, whatever. I want to play another one. I want to enjoy Malago Shaman. I want to have fun playing the one deck I am interested in playing today. Guess what happens game 2? My opponent is the exact same guy I played against last game, but instead of mid-range Paladin, my opponent's now playing Freeze Mage, a deck with 2 Ice Blocks. And it turns out Ice Block is pretty good against a deck that tries to kill you in one turn. Needless to say, I unfortunately lost that game due to nothing more than my opponent looking at Vicious Syndicate's data win rate table, scrolling across, figuring out that Freeze Mage is a really good counter to Malago Shaman, queuing that deck up. If you guess what happened next, it ended up resulting in me not being too happy about playing Malago Shaman, and deciding that, oh, man, even though I really want to play this one deck, I actually can't because it has polarized matchups, and unfortunately players will abuse this on ladder. Which really sucks because I was having a lot of fun playing that. But if I do want to win a single game of Hearthstone today, unfortunately I am going to have to play a deck that does not have polarized matchups. Unless I want to join in the fiesta that is counter queuing, which I don't. The only consistent way I have found to play around counter queuing myself is to actually take a 5-minute break after games I play when I'm near top 10 Legend, in there, going for rank 1, anything like that. There's really no other way to do it, because I can say about 75% of the time, if I play against someone in top Legend and they're also a top Legend player, who's going for a high rank, just as myself, I will get counter queued. So if I'm playing a deck with matchups that are bad, which is every deck in the game, then I do have to take a 5-minute break or so, otherwise I will get dumpstered by them and lose. It's basically putting yourself an advantage for not taking a long break before you queue again, just because your opponent has the information of what deck he's going to most likely queue into. It's really frustrating for me as a player because I find that counter queuing is an extremely abusable mechanic that really just shouldn't exist within the ladder system, yet it does. Again, this is something that's very prevalent as far as top Wild ladder players go. If you look at the finishes from the last month, I'd say probably, again, 75 out of the 100 or so people that get the top 100 finish in Wild do in fact counter queue over and over again. I know a couple who are just absolutely notorious for it, and basically get the rank 1s on ladder from just counter queuing people over and over again. I think that it really removes a lot of skill from Hearthstone and heavily inflates ranks. I'd almost compare counter queuing to win trading, just because people are getting ranks that they don't necessarily have the skill level to reflect, just because they understand how to look at a data table of win rates. I think that one of the biggest issues for me with counter queuing is that it inflates ranks, and also it really punishes budget players and players who really want to play one deck. Think about the Malago Shaman example. I just couldn't queue Malago Shaman anymore that day, even though I really wanted to. Or think about someone who saves up all of their dust to be able to play Pirate Warrior in Wild, and only Pirate Warrior. Well, it's as easy for their opponent to just queue up Control Warrior to have that 65 to 70% win rate against them all day long. And as a guy who can only afford the one Pirate Warrior deck, or as a guy who only wants to play Malago Shaman, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. It's effectively giving the other player with a bigger collection, or who's fine playing more than one deck, an advantage for absolutely no reason. So you might ask, Control, okay, cool complaints, man, that's nice. What exactly do you want to do to fix it? Well, guys, it's pretty simple. All that I suggest doing is to prevent rematching. So what that means is, after you play a game against someone, I'd like to make it so you can't actually queue into them again. So I play a game against, say, the mid-range Paladin, well, we're both going to have to go our separate ways and find new opponents. I understand there are a few issues with this, especially in Wild. Just because there aren't that many players, your queue time will go up. But think about it from the perspective of somebody like me. I'm already waiting 5 minutes for a game. So why would I not just want that guaranteed, that I don't have to queue into the same guy again? I know that's not everyone's perspective, but this is mostly just to change this quality of life for top Legend standard players and Legend players in Wild. Also, a common argument that I've gotten for counter queuing is that it actually requires skill because of the mind games that it requires. And that's generally what other players that are the top of ladder in Wild will tell me is, hey dude, I've been using my mind games here. This actually requires a lot of skill to do. And what I'm going to tell you is you're actually just guessing, and when you get your guess right, you're crediting that to yourself and your thinking skills. Really what happens when two players are going to counter queue each other, they're going to go down a tree of decks of favorable, unfavorable matchups over and over again. Like say you play a game as Pirate Warrior versus Freeze Mage, and both the players suggest that they like to counter queue each other. Well, one guy's going to be like, oh, I want to play Control Warrior, and the other guy's probably also going to say, oh, I want to play Control Warrior. But then you think, oh, well, if my opponent's going to play Control Warrior, then maybe I should play Jade Druid. And it's just going to go on and on and on like that. And you're going to pick one of the trees that are a couple paths down, and maybe you'll queue up a favorable matchup after that. Really just results in random queuing and disallowing yourself to play the deck that you wanted to play and queued up with in the first place. The TLDR is I don't think it takes very much skill to guess what your opponent's going to play. Just to summarize again, my proposed solution is for Blizzard to prevent rematching. I think this is a solution that will help the top of ladder players, both in Standard and Wild, enjoy the game a lot more, while also not hindering the ability of lower rank players to play the game. I've been playing the Wild mode for a long time, and I haven't had any issues with it other than counter queuing. It's been a blast to play for me, but this has been one of the biggest issues I've had while trying to enjoy myself playing Hearthstone. When making this video, I tried to go through the pros and cons of counter queuing, trying to play devil's advocate for myself, and coming up with reasons why people would do it. But at the end of the day, I think rematching is just one of the best ways to fix it. If you have any criticism on this video or any comments on it, feel free to leave them in the description box. I'll read everything. And if I think your criticism is relevant and it deserves a response, I'll definitely respond to it and all that kind of jazz. Thank you very much for checking out my content. Feel free to check out my Twitter and Twitch. I live stream daily. And feel free to sub to me on YouTube. I would appreciate that a lot. Let's get this started, guys. Let's get Blizzard thinking about counter queue, put that on their radar. Let's stop counter queuing by preventing rematching.